Okay, here's another great real life example of buying a distressed business for no cash down and turning it into a real life equity. Now, this one I actually did when I was a little under 30 years old, and it happened up in Wyoming where I had a used office furniture store in Casper, Wyoming, had another one over in Gillette. The business was kind of fun because I would go to New York City and Philadelphia, Chicago during the Rust Belt era and buy used furniture as companies were moving to the south and closing their corporate headquarters down. So I'd buy a desk for $10, drag it out to the oil fields of Wyoming and sell it for 100. It was a good little business, but I wanted to open a store in Riverton. The only problem I had is competition. There was another store already there, and there was no way the two of us in that market that size would be able to prosper. And then I heard a rumor. I heard a rumor that the guy was not really doing that well. It was an advertising salesman that come through. He had just been over there talking to my competitor in Riverton. And he said, the guy's buying inventory. He started the store with no money by just working on trade credit, hoping to sell the product before the bill came due. Well, I know how good that works out. So I got in the truck and drove over and sat down and talked to him. And the phone rings while we're sitting there, and he jumps while the phone's ringing, while we're having a conversation. And that was like a great big alarm. I'll bet this guy's not having a lot of fun here. And so we talked a little bit longer, and I found out that what he was doing is he'd started the store with nothing down, but he just called up and got credit, and he got credit to buy a semi-load of brand new furniture. Remember, I'm only selling used stuff, but he's buying brand new stuff on trade credit with the idea that he'll have enough of it sold in 30 days to pay the bill. Well, of course, that didn't work, so then he just called another vendor, and there were about 20 big furniture manufacturers back then, so he was just rolling factory over factory, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Well, you know, and I both know that that just never worked. And this guy won it out. He was going down the tubes, and he was upset because creditors were calling him all the time. His wife was unhappy. He needed to get out of business. So here's what happened. I'm talking to him, and we're in the room there for about 2 hours, and finally it came down to this. You've got about $125,000 in trade debt, and you've got $85,000 inventory left in the store. And well, that means you're in the hole. You got a negative net worth of $40,000, and it's getting worse every day. And of course, I had to be very cautious and calm and kind and understanding during this conversation so that he didn't take a personal affront to any of this. But then I looked at him and I said, "Listen, I'll just buy your corporation. I'll get you out of this. You can go home, do something else. And so I'm going to buy your corporation for your $40,000 in the hole. I'll take the corporation for the debt. And just to make you feel good about it, here's $1,000 in cash earnest money, and I'll close in 5 days." And I had expected this was going to happen, and that's why I had carried the money with me over there. And I laid out the 10 $100 bills, and he looks at me, and he says, "You've got a deal." Then I asked him for 2 more things. "I need your books. I got to have all your accounting information right now. And I'm going to call all your vendors. Is that okay with you?" Well, he's so excited to be out of this deal and to be able to go home that he just gave me the business if I promised to take the $40,000 in debt. So I got on the phone and I called all the vendors that were listed on his books. And I asked I found out who the credit manager was. Now remember, I knew a lot of these people because I already had 2 stores. We didn't sell many new loads of furniture, but I knew most of the people that were in the business. First thing I did is I talked to him for a few minutes, said, "I'm going to send you over an important package," and I FedExed a copy of the financials over to each one of the credit managers at each one of the factories. Then I called him back the next day and said, "Well, here's the story. I'm buying the corporation. I never once said I'm taking over the debt. I'm buying the corporation, and I'm going to bankrupt it. And so next week, you're going to get a notice from the lawyers that I'm bankrupting this company. Now, you can come and get your inventory. I'm okay with that. Or we can make some kind of a deal." Well, nobody, I'm calling guys in New York and Chicago and Los Angeles. Nobody wants to come out there all the way to Wyoming and try to salvage some of their inventory. So I made them a deal. I said, "I'll pay you 25 cents on the dollar for the debt." And And I'm sorry, but that's all they can do. You think about it for a day or two, but if you'll take the 25 cents on the dollar, which is more than you're going to get if the place bankrupts, if you'll take that, I'll promise to continue buying for you for the next 2 years. And when I buy stuff in my other stores, you'll be my preferred vendor so that we can continue doing business. You can recover over time, but 25 cents is the best deal. And do you know that over the next 3 days, every one of them took the deal? And now the only problem was I've got to come up with some way to raise the $30,000. 31,000 is what I was going to need. I got to come up with some way to do it. So I went back into the warehouse, to the Riverton warehouse, and I looked at what we had back there, rented a furniture van, and loaded it up with about, I think around $40,000 worth of inventory. And then I went to a little town called Vernal, Utah at the Holiday Inn. I rented the big banquet room at the Holiday Inn, and I auctioned off half the inventory. Well, here's what happened. I had $125,000 in corporation debt, and I negotiated to pay it down. Offered 25 cents on the dollar. No one ever thinks about doing this, but it is so simple. And the vendors want to get this off the books. They know if it bankrupts, they're never going to get a dime, and they wanted me to stay in business so I might continue to buy from them. So I agreed to pay them 25 cents on the dollar, but they had to give me 30 days. So I looked at all that inventory sitting up here in the warehouse, and I picked out $40,000 of dead inventory, the slowest moving stuff that I knew that wasn't going to sell through. And I loaded it into that van. Then we held an auction, and I got 35, and I got 40, 45, and out of 50. And we ended up getting $42,000 at auction for that inventory. Now, that paid off my cost of the sale because I had to buy some advertising, and paid off all my labor that helped me load the truck and stuff. But the most important thing is I paid off the creditors, and I still had $8,000 left over. So here's what happened. We had a paid for business, zero debt, and I still had $45,000 of my best inventory sitting in the warehouse in Riverton, so we were ready to get going in business. These are deals that are everywhere. Every time a business gets in trouble, there's an opportunity there if you have a methodical process, a checklist, if you know other people that have done it, and you can talk to them about the ways you find the businesses, how you turn them around, how can you negotiate deals. Everything it's been done, so it's been flow charted, it's been processed. You can even learn about putting the equity that you generate into a 1031 exchange so you can keep rolling your deals up and not have to worry about spending 23% of your profit on taxes. So if you'd like to learn more about this, we'd love to have you join our monthly club. We get together every week for 30 minutes. We talk about stories about real life situations that I've done and other people have done, and we provide you with supporting documentation on how to make it happen. If you'd like to join us every week, just click the Join Now button, and we'll be excited to visit with you next Wednesday. Okay, thank you for listening.